Well, there it is. Hi guys, welcome once again to another Warcraft 3 gameplay video. Reforged? Yeah. The models are strapped onto the Warcraft 3 engine, but it's what we've got so far. And in this case, we're going to take a look at some beta gameplay. Human, played as human, in 4 versus 4. So it's going to be 7 insane computers and your boy Arthas. So thanks to Book of Flames for this video. He's going to be playing a 4v4 custom game, essentially, on Twilight Ruins. One thing to note is the map doesn't show up as Twilight Ruins, so none of this is truly polished, as should be obvious really at this state. This is just what we have, so I'm going to criticize based off what I can see, but I am aware that this isn't a finished product. These are all leaks, so take that into account, and thank you very much for doing so. Speaking of which, have you thumbs up the video yet? Thank you for doing that. Thank you. I appreciate it. It does help out a lot, actually. I like how the town hall's building right from the beginning. Like, you are literally starting from the beginning here. So, he's going to be playing as human, which means he's going to start off with his altar, go into a farm, and go for his first hero. Shortly after that, there will be a barracks to follow to produce the footman. Or you could put down double farm there. So, I'm not so sure about that. What have we got? I'd like to see his allies. What races he's got. And where he's going. He's waiting to put his barracks, is he? Yes. So the buildings look pretty damn neat. They do fit in quite nicely, actually. Just needs a little bit more polish. But we know that there is still work to be done. This is going to be fairly long, this video. It's like 35 minutes of gameplay. So I thought I would cover this, though, because it will show off a little bit more behavior from the computer as well, so you can sort of see how it looks and feels playing against an insane computer in Reforged, or at least Reforged. We are aware. Thank you for pointing that out. So what hero is he going to go with? It's going to be the Mountain King. Big fan of the Mountain King, this guy. I think he went Mountain King Paladin Blood Mage last time, so he might be going for the same triple combo. Volume down. What? That farm is a very small abode, isn't it? Those peasants don't really have much space to move in. How big would that be if that was like in real world comparisons? I guess the original farm is small as well when you think about it. I think what the case is with a lot of these Reforged models is it feels like they're almost a bit bigger than the original models in every single aspect, because it's like they've been painted over. But in order to paint over them, you have to cover the original completely, and then you can add some extra detail. So they have to make sure they cover the original, which makes everything seem a bit bigger than it should necessarily be. Except for that Mountain King. He's sliding into action. His ice skating lessons have been very useful so far, giving him swift movement. Oh, chucking that Stormbolt very quick and swiftly. Point blank range. Starting off with the Creek Camp. The other benefit of watching this is the Sunken Ruins style template, which we don't typically see in 1 versus 1 gameplay. It's typically Lordaeron Summer. So there's some cool creatures as well on this map, and they're going to be the models. All the models are basically going to be from Reforged, or how they will potentially look. So you even got the Albatross flying above there. He's got very long wings. His computer allies come in to try to help him do that green camp, but it doesn't realise that it's already done. He's starting off with this camp, the Skeletal Grunts. He's produced his barracks. He's going to now tech up to tier 2. Footmen are looking quite beefy here, actually. They look like they throw some weight around. He's trying to get a nice angle. He needs to invert camera the other way, but no worries. In comes the computer to steal the experience. This is the 4 versus 4 RT experience I remember. It's technically 4 versus 4 because it's created as a custom game, but it reminds me of 4 versus 4 RT. Some guy helping you do like a green camp. It's like, alright, thanks mate. The Lobstrox and Macrora, they look really weird there. They almost look like they're kind of like physically gorilla-like with their movements. I'm not too sure if I like that as much. Pulling the footman back, but still getting wrecked by the ranged. Yeah, there's a little bit of micro there. But this is still an incredibly difficult creep camp. He does have militia, does he? No, his computer friend's coming over. So he's not using militia to help creep this. There's the level up, so that looks different. It's got more of an orange glow to it now. Very similar with the Warcraft movie. You remember the Warcraft movie? Just bring the volume down so it doesn't echo too much. Hopefully the... you should only really just be able to hear me over the gameplay. I tried to make it so the gameplay is quite loud itself. Yeah. Green says, let me help you finish. Thanks, Green. So he's got Arcane Vault. He can purchase... Oh my goodness, another ally's come in to help him do that. Everyone's joining in. What was that ally, though? What was that massive axe? Was that... That wasn't the freaking Shadow Hunter, was it? Oh, there's a Tauren Chieftain there, but that wasn't the same. Oh, it bloody was the Shadow Hunter! It's like, I thought it was an axe. I didn't even know what weapon he was holding. It's just this giant freaking thing. Oh my goodness, okay. I mean, that's going to get changed, isn't it? I think there's been so much feedback for Blizzard. And this is why it's important for you guys to give feedback. Even just write it down in like the comment section below. What you like, what you don't like. And potentially Blizzard maybe watch this stuff. I don't know for sure. But you can't hurt by trying to give feedback. Because they can always just say no. But on the bright side, they could potentially take it into consideration. And then say yes. And you could get your positive change from that. Right, he's moving into the middle now. There's the Goblin Laboratory. It's very vital you pick up a Shredder as soon as you can. Shredder OP. I think Grubby wanted to get Shredder changed to be like a 2-food unit or something like that. But it doesn't chop trees anywhere near as efficiently. Which has some weight to it and some merit because it is incredibly good at its job. Like, if you just leave it for a few minutes, you get like 1,200 lumber or something. It's kind of insane. It is expensive, though. 375 gold and 100 lumber. But then again, if it was a 2-food unit, you could bring down its lumber capabilities, and it would still be very good, but it wouldn't cost as much. So, would that not make it even more OP in a way? Because if you're investing 375 gold and 100 lumber into a unit like that quite early on and you get rushed by the enemy, you are really down on a lot of cash that could help defend you. So you still have to wait for that Shredder to bring the lumber in. But anyway, moving on to a lumber mill here to help him continue chopping the trees. Those tree stumps are a little thick and chunky, but that's because the trees themselves have a thickness to them. Like, it's going with Paladin here, so it does look like it's going to be the same triple combo. Mountain King, Paladin, Blood Mage, perhaps what he's very familiar with. Now we got a Murloc Camp. So this is where the merchant is on Twilight Ruins. I don't like this position because it's very hard and uncomfortable to get to. Despite being close to your base and sort of in a protected space because it's in between your allies' base, it still feels way harder to approach than when it was originally in the middle of the map. So when your allies are like in the middle of the map and they're like, hey, come on, let's go attack this guy. You're like, I don't have a town portal. How do I get town portal? I've got to go all the way to the side of the map to get a town portal. And you guys are about to attack from the middle right now. So I've got to not only go back, but also get to the middle and then go to the enemy base. That position doesn't seem right. Just a slight bugbear, really. I'm very much a 4 versus 4 RT player. It's my favourite from Warcraft 3. I do like 1 versus 1 as well. I do it. But 4 versus 4 RT is what I sort of grew up with in Warcraft 3 and played thousands of games. Just ridiculous amounts. Just love it so much. And I really hope that Reforged helps fix the team kill and people trolling issue that we currently have, because it is so fun to play. You can just really go ham and try all types of different strategies and mess around. It feels a lot more flexible than 1 versus 1. You can be more flexible with your build order as well and not be heavily punished for not doing the exact right thing that you should be doing. That is meta. Okay, so that creep camp was really nice to look at because the sea giants are fantastic models, very reminiscent of the ogres. They're very reminiscent of their original models. They just look really cool. They've got lots of flavour to them. It's lots of personality with the shark head helmet or the squid helmet. Like, they look better basically than their original ones. Here's the Skeletal Grunts, Legion Doom Horn, fantastic item drop there. very nice. I really like these skeletals. They look like they're really pushing a lot of weight as well with those attacks, as grunts typically would do. So I imagine they probably have the same attack animations as the physical grunts, but I'm not entirely sure of that. After all, they are undead grunts. He's got an army of allies approaching the middle. Is he going to go for a tavern hero? I don't know if he's tier 3 yet. Doesn't look like it. He's got access to Dragonhawk riders, but will probably go Griffin riders by the looks of it as soon as tier 3 becomes available. Does not have that shredder though. That shredder would help a lot. There's the demon hunter moving up through the left. It's a joke. Yeah. Alright, almost tier 3. He's getting ready for his Griffin. You can tell he's desperate to start building those Griffin riders. I can tell he's just itching, chomping at the bit. There you go. Come on, let's get those Griffins going. Oh, I see. No, there we go. Oh, you're so close. Blood Mage. There it is. There it is. I mean, the other thing I really like about 4 versus 4 RT, more so than 1 versus 1, is because I've played so much of it, I can predict what everyone's going to do. This sounds like egotistical, but if you watch my Twitch, twitch.tv/witty, if you ask anyone in my chat, they will agree that I seem to sort of be a prophet when it comes to it. I know exactly how people are going to behave, just on how they've crept, just on how they even move their heroes. You can sort of see the personality between the corresponding personality between what's on the screen and the person behind the screen who's playing with the physical mouse and keyboard. You can just tell exactly what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. I can't do that so well in 1 versus 1. I'm not as good as that in 1 versus 1. I can't predict and play the game as well in 1 versus 1. So there's the bubble, Divine Shield. I like it and I don't like it. It doesn't look as physically aware and obvious as the original does. To me, it looks almost a little bit opaque and see-through. I feel like there needs to be more obviousness to it, and it's almost a little bit too wide out. If it was closer on the Paladin and bigger and brighter and more gold coloured, you would really know you can't penetrate that Paladin right now. So feel free to let me know what you guys think on that aspect. Oh, look at the size of the Zeppelin. That's massive. Again, these Reforged models are just too big. It's too big. The Zeppelin is nowhere near that big. It looks cool, but it's... the wings are over the top. Now that I see it in game, because I've only seen it in models, now that I see it in game, I think that's too big. Way too big. A lot of this stuff just looks bigger than it should do, which means that it doesn't feel like it connects as well, because it's not grounded in reality to the original Warcraft 3. So hopefully they kind of get the sizes correct over time. There's a water elemental. Pushing forward those attacks. Don't think those are finished though. Having a tough time versus defended footman. Water elemental would be a better target at this point. Or a hero. And he's going for the hero. Archmage down very quickly. The Archmage looked well small there as well, didn't he? This is part of the fun of watching this gameplay. Obviously this isn't finished, but we are starting to get to an issue where they're starting to blend in with one another, and I'm worried about the heroes not being as obvious in comparison to the units, particularly when looking at your allies. The colours feel more shaded and darker in tone, which means that I don't feel like I'm seeing the units and who they belong to as obviously as I would like to, which means that it's harder to respond and perform the correct and execute the correct actions for correct micro and minimal losses. When I'm looking at this, I feel like too much just blends into the background, and this is really one of my big bugbears with Reforged, is the tones aren't as vibrant, the shapes aren't as obvious. Now, criticism has been put out, and people have made great points that Warcraft 3 was a product of its time. They were restricted by the processes that they currently had, and they were essentially forced to go blocky with the models. But luckily for us, that really worked. Whereas this day and age, can you get away with that? Would people accept that? Would the casual gaming audience accept that? Probably not as much. So as a result, we have more of this kind of shapely looking characters, but they just blend in and blurb a little bit too much. I'm not saying that 4 vs 4 RT is obvious what's going on regardless, even in the old engine, because you can still get confused when a big battle's going off. But I can tell you from experience that right now this looks way more confusing. Although, of course, I've had less experience with these models, so there is that to take into account. I am fully aware. Don't worry, I got your back. I am well aware. I just love the icons though. The pictures for the characters and stuff and the items are just so beautiful. I did a video recently, Warcraft 3, all icons. It's 1,412 of them. There might even be more, but those are the ones we have at the moment. That's a lot. And I scroll down through all of them and I just give my opinions, but I let the video flow, so I don't try to pause it too much. I just let it smoothly play out. And you guys would probably have a lot of fun watching that, because these icons are so well made. And there's so many good ones as well, like the personalities of each of the Dreadlords, sort of like the fat one, the sort of like the Thanos looking one, the cunning looking one, the bloodthirsty looking one that looks maniac. They're really cool. Have I already seen all the Chaos Orcs? Yes. I mean, well, there's only technically one Chaos Orc, and that's like the Red Blade Master Samaru model. But I guess what you really mean is the Fel Orcs. And I would much prefer the Fel Orcs to actually look like the Chaos Orc, which is actually more of a vibrant red. Whereas the Fel Orcs themselves, they look tanned. Like their skin has been painted or something, which I don't like as much. Dino Fix, thank you very much there for the sub. Thank you very much. So, a combination of Dragon Hawks moving into an Orcish army. Demolisher, Taurens, Bat. It's probably going to move in for Concoction. Oh, he's got the ensnare on the Wyverns. Their wings are trying to keep them afloat, but they are netted down. Griffins punishing very heavily. Mountain King stepping in. Looking a little bit vulnerable there versus the Tauren Pulverizes. That Rifleman's going to get it. He got blown up as he got battered by the Tauren. That was a pretty cool looking death effect for him. You've got a confused looking Blade Master who doesn't know how to respond to all this air. Ah, that was just an illusion. Just an illusion. Oh, look at the Knight. He's punching forward with that Cavalier Lance, and he has also got the sword attacks as well. Pretty cool. Reminds me a lot of the Warcraft II Knight in a way. He looks a bit more imposing, but still speedy. And again, this is just a case of all the models just seem like they're a little bit larger than they necessarily should be in comparison to the originals. Uh-oh. That's a lot of Bat Riders. Purple Tauren pushing forward. He's trying to take on a lot of the computer himself, because what you'll find is computer allies will just basically faff around a lot of the time. So going triple hero here is a smart move. He's now moved into level 6, so we might get a Fakar's Madar. I'm waiting for it. Okay, he's got an ally coming in now, giving him a bit more confidence. Here we go. You didn't get to hear it very much though, but it was there. So the avatar form is definitely a lot larger, and even with all of that avatar form, he's only just that much bigger. So I would like him to be somewhere in between his original height and his full avatar form. I believe I mentioned that in the previous video. All of my videos you can check out on the channel. I've got a Warcraft 3 Reforged playlist where I just cover all of the Warcraft 3 news, the models, the artwork, the gameplay, you name it. It's all there. I love those demolishers. Very cool. Strange spell effect there. The shaman moved forward very quickly. He's like flowing with that gown. The shamans look really cool when they move. We've got Bloodlust kicking in now. So getting some ginormous Taurens. The siphon, given just a tiny bit of mana there. Just a finished stream of mana. He's very stingy. So a lot of these kind of stream effects don't seem very large, unlike the models. I do love those icons though. Looking really cool. There's the Farseer. Looking pretty cool actually when he's all bloodlusted as well. Looking like he's really angry. I'm getting kind of hypnotized by the Farseer. I don't know why. My eyes are drawn to him a lot. Less so the Tauren Chieftain. Come on, Tauren Chieftain. You're my favourite. You should be drawing all of my attention here. Oh, that Mountain King's gone back to being absolutely tiny again. Yes, he's a dwarf, but I don't know. You can have liberty with it because he's a hero. He can just be a bigger, thicker, chunker orc. I mean, orc? Dwarf. I've betrayed my alliance kind by saying that. I've let slip. Freudian slip. I'm a horde player after all. You can see the altar in work, which I think is definitely work in progress. The braziers are nice, but I don't know why the whole thing is kind of dusting. Like there's dust coming off of the statue. That seems weird. Hero out. Time to punish him for even bothering to bring his hero out. Nice try. Ah, now that's something you'll hear a lot in 4 versus 4 RT. Our ally's hero has fallen. You'll hear that like every 2 seconds. I'm getting flashbacks. Gonna see a flame strike. Very vibrant. Definitely still obvious it's going off, but not quite as massive as the original. Ah, okay. So there's the clouds. That basically stops buildings from attacking you. So you would cast that upon towers. We haven't seen that yet. That looked like a pretty cool effect. A little misty and not as thick as the original. The original one's pretty thick. But it doesn't necessarily have to be, because it also blocks a lot of vision. Like, one thing you can do is you control a bit. I might do that later, actually, in a 4 versus 4. Because I also play 4 versus 4 RT. Obviously, I mentioned it, but I might do that. I might go mass Dragon Hawks and just spam the cloud ability. Because it actually, the spell effect stacks on top of itself. So, originally, it's fairly thick. But if you have, like, 20 Dragon Hawks cast it, the FPS starts to drop like mad. And you can just, like, completely block the battlefield. Because you can just cast it everywhere and no one can see what's going on. So maybe it's a good thing they made it more see-through.
My powers are ready. Wait till you see me alive. Let me face the better prepared to fly.
Tion says, what about custom games on Reforged? Can you explain? How do you mean? I don't believe there's... Well, I don't basically play this right now because I'm trying not to get banned by Blizzard. There's the Phoenix. It looks more like the World of Warcraft equivalent, which, to be quite frank, I don't like. Alar's pretty cool. It's unique, but I much prefer the original one. It feels way more deadly. This one feels a bit like a baby, in a way. Doesn't feel as meaty or powerful. Yeah, I mean, with custom games on Reforged, you should be able to play those as well. There shouldn't be any issue, other than the game crashing because the map creator used custom models that aren't recognizable by the engine. So that's one of the issues we might potentially have with a lot of custom maps, whether they'll port over correctly or not. But are you just curious on how to do it in the first place? You go to like single player or multiplayer, but most likely single player if you were playing on this system, and create game or create custom game, and then you'd create game and you'd load up the map that would be in your map folder, map downloads folder, where you pretty much download most custom games, or could import custom games, and then just load them up like you would a normal melee game like this, like he's done here.
My powers are ready.
Those Dragon Hawks do look quite cool in the air. They're pretty big though. I just think everything looks big. The original Dragon Hawks were very slim. Even the Griffins are pretty massive. Very wide. They're more like the Warcraft II Griffins in that way.
Wait till you see me in action. What is it?
That looks like one enemy dealt with. I feel like he's trying to get a good mix of the powerful tier 3 units, but there's no spellcasters. It's just Griffins, Dragon Hawks, and Knights. Like the most powerful stuff.
For my people. Where must we fly?
Those fierce voice lines are still there. They're chunky. They're quite chunky, yeah.
What is it?
Goading the computer out. Those gyrocopters, or flying machines, they look incredible, but they're so big and bulky. And they're a 1 food unit. So, again, another troll you could do is just simply just go like 80 food of gyrocopters or something. And they'd just take up the entire screen. The other original ones look more flat and sort of streamlined in a way. So even if they do take up the screen a lot, they're not as imposing. These newer ones are definitely a lot thicker. Scroller Town Portal looks really weird. What's up with that? A lot of people are going to mess that up, to be honest, because that icon doesn't look anything like the original one. It's like a thin blue sort of tablet. Very strange. There's the Phoenix Egg dropping down. Gold Mine is out, but doesn't have a proper death animation, so it just lies there, somewhat disheveled. Unless that's how it's supposed to look. I think I'd prefer if it just disappeared though. But I don't know if that's intentional or not at this point. I can only hazard a guess.
What is it?
I think he's getting ready to move in on orange.
My powers are ready.
The human structures seem to blend in with one another. The Griffin Aviary is kind of modern looking now. It almost looks like a workshop in a way. Maybe it's the yellow and black part at the front of it that gives it this kind of like warning sign look. That looks more industrial than natural and old-fashioned. Especially with the immense amount of glowing in the middle.
Be quick, human.
I'm not sure if all the human buildings necessarily gel with one another, so to speak. I think the orc buildings are all very good though.
Where must we fly? Prepare to fly. My powers are ready.
A lot of the buildings these Reforged models seem to have feel like they sink into the ground a lot more than the originals. There's less height to them, and even a little bit less width. They feel like they're really sunken into the ground. I think it's going to take a bit of getting used to. It makes them a lot smaller, and yet the burrow looks absolutely massive. If you look at the size of the barracks at the top right there compared to the burrow on the east-hand side, they're almost the same size. Whereas in the original, that would definitely not be the case. Burrow looking a little bit too imposing, I think, there. Obviously, it's got spiked upgrades, which could potentially increase its size more so than the barracks, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Those knights are going to kill themselves. Spiked upgrades are actually pretty good. Blizzard buffed them as well. If you try to attack him with like a Blade Master or something, you can do a lot of damage. I guess he wanted to lose the knights though. Should go like mass siege engines or something at this point.
I am not afraid.
That Paladin with his jaw, and the Griffin looked really weird when he spoke as well, if you caught that. If not, then just go back a moment and you'll see it. So their voices definitely aren't quite matching with how the character's speaking. So I'm not sure how they do that though. Like, what sort of technology do they use for that? Do they have technology that kind of automatically sort of move the mouth and the lips of the character to what it's hearing audibly. Because otherwise you have to animate every single lip sync with the original voices. And the original didn't really have that, to be fair. Like, they would flap their mouth around and the voice line would come out. It wouldn't necessarily line up exactly, but it felt like it was more connected to the voice lines that were being pronounced. Key Chrono says they have skeletons and they just flap the mouth bones when things talk. There's no real lip sync. Yeah, I know. I guess it's just because the original has more sort of personality with them. So it really feels like they're still trying to say the line, even if it doesn't necessarily match up. So the original's not perfect by any means.
As you wish. Where must we fly? Give me something to do.
They're all very stiff. I don't think this orc stands much of a chance. He's trying to get the perfect flame strike, but he's settled for... He's settled for no flame strike now. He's given up. It's like it's not even worth it. Yeah, this is definitely the point where you just go 100 food of siege engines. Kill your heroes and just pure siege engines. I like the look of the Zeppelin, but I don't like the wings now that I see them. If you remove the wings and make that sort of spike bit at the side less wide, it would give the Zeppelin more of a stealthy kind of look, which is more similar to the original. Or at least it just feels like it takes up too much space because of how it's sort of so wide now. Key Chrono says, when you have high poly models, your brain expects more. True. Could be some truth to that, definitely. Your brain's looking for more from the character, but you're not seeing it. Another Zeppelin down for the count in a moment. Our allies' hero has fallen. So I feel like we've seen the majority of this now. So I'll probably skip to the last 2 to 3 minutes. At least we got to see a bit more of the cloud action. I quite like that, actually. You can see underneath it, but you can definitely see there's a cloud effect. It's just not as obvious as to where it is. The cloud effect seems to have like a lower FPS, though it feels like it's running on about 30 FPS in comparison to the other FPS of the characters. Whether that's intentional or not, I don't know, but it gives it a feel as if it doesn't quite move in the same flow as the reality that we are seeing. Oh, there's Banish. We didn't get to see that yet, so that's another bonus. At least I didn't skip past that just yet. But the game is more or less over at this point. I mean, there's only a few minutes left. I suppose I may as well just leave it, to be quite frank with you. It's just the computer won't want to leave. And these are all insane computers. So they probably don't even realise they've lost yet. They can still pump out units like mad. But what they don't realise is they're just pumping up the hero levels of our champion, Book of Flames, right now. It's not playing. What's not playing, NM?
I am not afraid.
One of the things that I didn't point out in one of the original gameplay videos that I commentated on, the Orc versus Human one, there's a moment where Book hovers over the attack icon, which actually shows a circle around the character indicating their range, which is a big thumbs up to Blizzard for that change. It's a very small, easy change, but it makes a big impact. Being able to see truly how far your character can attack is a big deal. So if you want to do that, hover over the icon that shows your attack, so your hero damage basically, and you will be able to see, okay, I can reach this far. I assume the same indicates for the towers, perhaps, or any unit really. Maybe even potentially melee. I don't know if it does work for melee. You could almost see like the little melee range. Because melee have a little bit of leeway with their attacks. There was some funny lighting effects going off there. There's Resurrection. Oh! There is the Guardian Angel effect. You just spotted that, but it's the old one. But it is still there, so they do intend to have that angel rise up from the Paladin by the looks of it. Oh, you're answering Hydralisk in chat. Oh, okay. No, I'm not currently playing this. This is just gameplay footage. I did consider sort of like trying out the beta in quotation marks because it's not actually officially released, but I'm going to try to avoid it and just wait till after BlizzCon, and hopefully the beta will be officially released and then I can just play it properly rather than sneak onto it with the files all sort of hacked. So, Phoenix Egg, nice little spin, and then the egg kind of like rumbles a little bit as well to indicate that something's alive in there. That's kind of cool. And that's it. GG. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to thumbs up the video. Thank you to Book of Flames for uploading the content that I can then snipe without actually breaking the rules myself, somewhat technically. It's somewhere like I'm almost like in between, if you know what I mean. I kind of forgot the term for it. Purgatory. Boom. There it goes. Boom. Just thank you very much. Popped into my head. I'm almost in purgatory or something. I'm in between the realms. So thank you very much there. And hopefully you had fun watching. Have a lovely day. Make sure to thumbs up on your way out if you didn't already. And take care. Bye-bye.